I would say that stress is probably one of the top root causes of a lot of health disease and, fluctuations in hormones and imbalances in health, really. So we can't out supplement, you can't out medicate stress. So we have to learn how to manage it.
Hello and welcome to Sweet Liberation. We are so excited today to be joined by Dr. Erin Ellis, who joins us all the way from Arizona. And Dr. Erin Ellis is a naturopathic doctor. Welcome, Dr. Erin. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Thank you for having me today.
We are super excited to have you join us. And yes, a woman after my own heart. Into the journey of really taking care of the whole person from my understanding of naturopathic medicine. So tell us a little bit about that from people that are watching now thinking, what's the difference between a naturopathic doctor and a conventional medicine doctor? Can you tell us a little bit about what that is and your approach to people's health?
Yeah, absolutely. So naturopathic medicine is the best form of medicine. We need conventional medicine, don't get me wrong. However, naturopathic medicine is really getting to the root cause of what's going on rather than giving you what I like to say, a pill for your ill. So your body has the innate ability to heal itself. So if we figure out what it's missing or what it needs, or maybe what it's has too much of, we can fix it. And by giving, what it needs, you can really heal from any disease processes. So, naturopathic medical school, there's only 6 or 7, I think now, licensed, accredited naturopathic medical schools in the US and Canada. So they're not everywhere. I was fortunate enough to have one here in Arizona, which is why I pursued it. So I didn't have to move or relocate to go to school. But it's a traditional 4-year medical degree program, just like medical doctors, conventional medicine. The first 2 years is all basic sciences, anatomy, physiology, biochemistry. And then we take our first set of boards over those basic sciences. And then the second 2 years is all really like didactic work, which means like you take a class in cardiology or about the heart, and we learn, how a medical doctor would treat, say, high blood pressure, then how naturopathically we could address it on a more alternative scale. We also do a lot of clinical rotations, working in either the school clinic or outside clinics, doing patient care hours. And then we take, when we graduate, we take our second set of boards to really get licensed. So in the state of Arizona, we're a fully licensed state. Unfortunately, naturopathic medicine is not licensed in all 51 states in the U.S. Or even, in Canada, there's a lot of different rules and regulations, especially if you, jump the pond there where you all are at. There's also traditional naturopaths, which get their certification online by taking courses that I guess are similar to ours. However, they don't have a license to practice medicine, but they can still call themselves naturopathic doctors. So if you're looking to have someone on your team that does, alternative medicine or functional medicine, or a naturopathic doctor like myself, just make sure that you're researching and doing your due diligence to make sure that they have the credentials that are appropriate for you. In the state of Arizona, I am fully licensed, so I can prescribe, I can order labs, I can order imaging, I can act as a primary care physician, I can write off on physical exams, things like that. So I'm very fortunate here. And like I said, I can prescribe, but that's not typically a naturopathic doctor's first line of therapy. We usually choose the least toxic and least invasive therapy first, which usually isn't a pill. We'll, again, supply the body with what it needs using vitamins, herbs, working a lot on nutrition. I do a lot of nutritional coaching. Medical doctors probably only get maybe 5 hours of nutrition throughout their entire education, and we get, I want to say, like 500 hours. It's not 500, but it's a lot. We have a huge, extensive nutrition background, which, as Hippocrates says, way back when, food is medicine. So you can literally give yourself, change your nutrition and change your health. So what else? We also do a lot of education. I think that's probably the biggest or my most favorite part is really teaching my patients and empowering them and having them learn about their health. Because if you've ever seen a medical doctor, which most of us have, you might get some basic lab work done and then you're just handed your lab work and said, oh, okay, everything's normal, but you have no idea what any of it means. So I really take the time with my patients and go through literally every single lab, why I ran it, what it means, where their levels are, and then how we can optimize it, through diet, lifestyle, supplementation, or medication if indicated and necessary. So that is the beauty of naturopathic medicine. We really want to heal people and make them feel better and restore their health because, life truly is too short and, there's a better way for health. And oftentimes if you are given a medication for whatever symptom you have, that also comes with more side effects. So you might feel better, but yet then you have some other symptom that comes up from whatever medication you're prescribed. So there's a different way for medicine. And if we really get to the root cause as to why you have whatever symptom it is, you can figure it out and then you can heal from it. It sounds really easy.
Amazing. Wow. I could see you itching, Luke.
Yeah, no, it sounds fantastic. How did you sort of get into it? What was your path into this?
Yeah, well, I didn't really want I didn't know anything about naturopathic medicine when I was growing up or really through school, but I did want to be a surgeon. I wanted to be a trauma room surgeon randomly. So I did do some pre-med courses, but then realized I didn't want to be in school for a million years. So I gave up on those dreams and got my degree in business from Arizona State University. And I worked in the bars and restaurants for many, many years. So I think that helped me a lot with people skills and interacting and, learning about different people and having that socialization aspect. But my journey really started in 2010 when I was diagnosed with a rare form of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So I had a tumor by my bladder, and the type of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma I had was really rare. It accounted for only 2% of all non-Hodgkin's lymphomas and typically found in older men. Well, I'm not a man and I was not old. So why I had this, I have no clue, but I'm a firm believer that things happen for us. And if this would have never happened to me, I would not be sitting here doing what I'm doing nor having this conversation with you all. Now, do I wish I would, I never want to have that again, nor do I wish, cancer on anyone. But when I was diagnosed, I really didn't have any other choice but to beat it. And that's how I set up my mental state, was with just the utmost positivity that I could possibly have. And I was diagnosed in February of 2010 and deemed cancer-free in July. So only 6 months later. And I've been cancer-free since, as far as that goes. I've had some bouts of skin cancer. But I really learned a lot about health and wellness through that journey. So when you're handed a diagnosis like that, it's like, whoa, what is going on? What am I doing wrong? How did this happen? How can I get better? How can I really heal myself? And unfortunately, we don't know what we don't know. And we're not taught anything about health really in school as an average American or an average person. So I dove down health and wellness and met a naturopathic doctor. And I still, to that point, until I met her, had no clue what naturopathic medicine was, which a lot of people don't know. And when she told me about, what she did and how there was a different way for health and you can really give the body what it needs to heal, I was like, what? Like, this is amazing. And remember, I was something medical. So I was like, all right, well, maybe this is what I need to pursue. And then that's how I found out that there was a school about 15 minutes from where I lived, which again, there's not naturopathic schools in every state. And with all my background of pre-med, I really only needed 2 classes to get in. And so I went back to school. I graduated in 2002. So yeah, 14 years later, I went back to school just to take those prerequisites and really kind of just dust the cobwebs off my brain for not being in school for so long. And I started naturopathic school in 2013 and graduated in 2017. So I've been practicing for about 7 years, or over 7 years now. And it was the best decision. My whole family thought I was nuts. Medical school is no joke. You're literally drinking from a fire hose. Just to put it in perspective, like when you take credits at a university, you're taking maybe 12 to 15 credits a semester or quarter. We took 30 every quarter. So there was not a dull moment. Your life was pretty much school, 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 and that was it. Had to say no to a lot of things, but it taught me a lot, and I don't regret it. I'm so happy that I chose this, and just to be able to give hope and inspiration to, I hope mainly women, but to really anyone that their symptoms are real and they can heal from them is truly what drives me every day.
Fantastic.
Amazing. I'm really interested to dig a little bit deeper into kind of what you see is happening with health and the solutions that you would think we need to kind of start talking about. Now, you talked about education, and is that something that you think needs to happen at school level? I mean, what do you think? What do you see as part of the solutions to what we see as like an international pandemic of obesity and all its related issues? What do you see as the answer to that?
Yeah, more education, more people speaking out about health risks, ingredients, our environment, toxins, pesticides, you name it. You don't know what you don't know. And I didn't know any of these things. I'm still learning every day. But the more and more you dive into, rabbit holes, whether that's on social media or podcasts or books or whatever it is, even mainstream media now, it's, you're learning something. And I think that's really where it starts, is awareness. And unfortunately, we still have to really work hard at educating ourselves, because it's not going to be presented to you unless you actively look for it. I honestly hope in the next few years, starting, very soon, that more and more education will be provided and more awareness is put out there. Like, oh, hey, did you know that this is not really the healthiest option for you, and that there's, healthier alternatives that are better? It's unfortunate that a lot of labels and ingredients are misleading. And that's due to the regulations that they don't have to disclose certain things, which is very unfortunate. So that's why you still have to do your own research. I reach out to companies all the time and ask them for clarification on ingredients. Has X been tested for glyphosate? Do you have X in this? What is your testing process? Like, what does this mean? You had this on the label. Can you please, disclose what this means? And you'll learn a lot from companies. Some are transparent and some are not. And the ones that aren't transparent, I'm like, all right, well, I don't think I'll be using your product because you can't tell me what's in it. And I want to be, 100% sure of what I'm putting in my body. So yeah, I really think it starts with education. More people speaking out about what they've learned on their own, more, talks like this. And, then more and more people will catch on and learn, and then start advocating for themselves, and then tell their friends and all of that. But yeah, it's something needs to change. And I think it starts with us as just regular, human beings, learning as much as you can and really just being aware. I think that's where you don't know what you don't know. And we haven't been taught these things. So if you just analyze one thing or look at one ingredient or box label, or next time you go to the store, it's just, look at what you're eating and don't trust the label. Look at the ingredients and, do your own research, and you'd be surprised at, how, especially here in the US, I think it's a lot different where you all are at, but here in the US, it's like our food's poisoning us. It's awful.
Yes, I think, well, in the UK, I don't think there's that much difference actually about what goes on between our side and your side. There are, all of the normal regulations around foods. There's quite a lot of control over what's going into foods. One of the things actually, one of my bugbears actually is the amount of foods that are sneaking sugar in. And there's, it might be guacamole or something, or hummus or something like that.
Yeah.
And you go, well, hang on a minute. 5 years ago, this didn't have sugar in it. Why have we suddenly got to have 2% sugar? That was actually mayonnaise, wasn't it, Nabila? We went to a restaurant and they brought mayonnaise out, and I thought, and I tasted it, and I thought, oh, this is weird. And I looked at the pack, and they'd put 2% sugar into it. It's just,
yeah, because it's addicting. Sugar is more addicting than a lot of drugs.
right.
So they put these ingredients in that are addicting, so we keep coming back for more and more and more.
Ah, yes, yes. it probably makes you eat more on at the time as well.
Yep.
You're in the restaurant, you've got extra space for more, more food.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Well, it is. And what do you, because our bugbear is the amount of sugar people are eating. And as we came into this journey, we did not expect to go down so many rabbit holes. The rabbit holes are just like endless. We just get lost in them because when you uncover one thing, you uncover another and another and another. It's just endless. So, so we when we started this journey, we were both like keen. Let's cut out sugar. Let's talk about this. But then you start uncovering all of these other issues that happen in health. And that's just the beginning. The beginning has to be there because you can't keep poisoning yourself with this really, really terrible food product. And then you open up the rest. So let's talk about nutrition and how you see kind of nutrition playing out. What do you talk to your patients and about, and how do you approach this? Are you tailoring nutrition for each one, or do you have a very kind of approach that you have sort of created around nutrition?
Yeah, both. I mean, I really try and meet the patient where they're at. I do a lot of hormones, and a lot of women are struggling with weight loss. So obviously nutrition plays a huge role in that. But again, it's about the awareness factor first. So I usually ask them to maybe track foods for a few days so I can actually see what we're starting with. And then I can meet them where they're at. And it's like, all right, instead of, 1 egg this morning, let's increase that to 2 or 3. We really want to focus on protein. Most women are under eating protein. It's just our nature. We don't eat a lot of protein. We like carbohydrates, which carbs are good in moderation. We need them, but we really need to focus on protein. I'm not a huge fan of diets and of adhering to like a strict meal plan. But if you just learn the basics, which again, nobody really teaches us, is, making sure that you have adequate protein, you have adequate healthy fat, and you have adequate fiber on your plate. That's a really well-balanced meal. It doesn't sound that difficult, and anyone can do that. It's like, all right, I have protein here, I have fat, and I have a good fiber source. Fiber is essential for health, and most everyone is under eating fiber. We only get maybe about 10 to 15 grams a day. We need upwards of like 25 to 30. And that's not only important for, healthy bowel movements and, keeping you full and balancing blood sugar, but also for your hormones. Fiber binds to estrogen, so it can help us metabolize it out of the body. And a lot of women have excess estrogen, which is causing a lot of hormone imbalances. And the excess estrogen in the body is highly influenced by the toxins and pesticides in our crappy environment. So fiber, protein, and fat, I think, are really where I start. I mean, we can dive into, fine tuning that a lot more based on each patient. I also recommend sometimes, meal prep companies, or how can we, batch food so it's easy for you instead of not eating or going through, drive-throughs or eating out all the time where you're more exposed to inflammatory foods, seed oils, processed foods that, you wouldn't get otherwise if you were having control of the food in your house. So yeah, it sounds easy, but again, you don't know what you don't know. And none of us were really taught this in school. And I think this is why we have such a epidemic now of, food. And like we just talked about, there's so many things that are addicting, and, you see the commercials and you're like, that looks good, or that's cheap, I'm going to buy it, it's on sale. And it's like, well, you're not really fueling your body with good foods. Now, everything in moderation. I'm not perfect. I'll go have pizza. I have French fries. It's all in moderation. So I like to, I live probably a 90-10, maybe 95-5. Like, I'm pretty clean now, but I'll go out and have, bad food, or I'll have a cheat day, and that's okay. Like, if you do have that, that's great. We just don't want to make it a regular thing.
Yeah. Can I ask, what is the 90-10? Sorry.
Oh, like 90% of the time I eat really, really clean. 10% of the time I basically one meal a week. I might have like a cheat meal where we'll go out to eat, and I don't really care about, I let go of the quality of my food for one time because I can't really control it. I know I'm going out.
Yeah, yeah. And what does things like meditation play a part in what you're teaching people and people that come to you?
Oh, absolutely. I would say that Stress is probably, so in naturopathic medicine, we're always looking for the obstacles to cure. And I would say that stress is probably one of the top root causes of a lot of health disease and, fluctuations in hormones and imbalances in health, really. So we can't out supplement, you can't out medicate stress. So we have to learn how to manage it. And oftentimes, you can't really get rid of all your stress either, right? You can't just get rid of your kids. I mean, you could divorce your husband, but that's a process. It might cause more stress. It's not easy to just quit your job and find another one nowadays. There's a lot of things that are not easy to do. So we just have to learn how to manage it. So meditation is amazing. A lot of people are like, I can't do that. Great. No worries. Just sit there and maybe just work on your breath. There's other alternatives to really work on getting your body in a parasympathetic state, which is the more rest and digestive state, rather than being in a chronic sympathetic state of like go, 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 fight or flight, adrenaline junkie, which is what most women are operating on nowadays because we're just busy. So really just taking time for yourself, whether that's doing a meditation or sitting and focusing in on, and looking at your breath and focusing on that, I think is huge. I've seen a lot of thyroid disorders and adrenal dysfunction. Adrenals is your stress response. So again, chicken before the egg, but I would bet money it's probably a stress response that's been going on for a really long time that's now impacting other hormones in the body. So it's a huge domino effect, and then we're looking at the why. And most often it's a stress response. It's like, well, how can we calm down that stress?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing. No, and I'm particularly interested. So good that you're hydrating as well. I mean, I've got a little tickly, one virally thing, but I'm in reasonably good health these days. So I'm fighting it off quite well. Good makeup as well. That always helps. But yeah, are you good now? Yeah. Just take a moment.
No, I'm good.
Good. Yeah, that time of the year as well. I'm really fascinated to know your approach around hormones. Being a woman of a certain age now, I'm all about trying to find out how to manage this point in my life the best approach possible. And I know that you're really passionate about that. So tell us about what you see around women sort of hitting the menopause and the hormone issues that come with that, the perimenopause and all of those things. Talk to us about that. And what is your approach?
Yeah, well, first, I think it's important to know that you don't need to suffer. There is help and there is hope with it, and you deserve to feel good during this, what they call second puberty or change in your life. So it's really just getting to the bottom of what's going on for you specifically. Is it obviously like your ovaries are going to stop producing hormone? Your adrenals, take over a little bit. However, we're going to be, deficient, which we can replace. There's hormone replacement therapy, bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, which is safe. There's been a lot of bad, information out there that hormones cause cancer. And if hormones cause cancer, we would all have cancer because we all have hormones. So it's just a matter of how do we approach it? How are your detox pathways going? There's definitely alternative therapies besides doing hormone replacement therapy, especially if you're not able to do that or, your prescriber can't prescribe it, with herbs and vitamins. But we're also looking at, the foundations of health, like how is the diet? Are you exercising? Are you moving your body? Are you having healthy bowel movements? Are you sweating? Are you sleeping? How's your stress levels? Like all of that can impact your hormones and, influence your health as you age. So those are things that I'm always looking at first rather than just all, throwing hormones at a patient right away. We're also looking at vitamin status. So many people are just deficient in these essential vitamins like vitamin B and vitamin D, magnesium, omega-3s, like very simple vitamins that we're just depleted in. And that can do all the world if we just give the body, those essential nutrients so they can actually function. So the nice thing about naturopathic medicine is it's not a cookie cutter approach. We don't have just one tool in our toolbox and it's like, oh, you have menopause, you do this. It's, every body is different, and everybody's treatment protocol is honestly different. I don't think I have identical treatment protocols for many of my patients, everyone's different. It just depends on what their body needs and where I need to start with them. And really also too, how symptomatic are they? And I'm always looking at quality of life as well. It's like, well, you really need some support. So we're going to do this. And then there might be someone else that's like, doesn't need that level of support, but still needs support. So it really honestly depends. There's not, like I said, one set way that I approach it, but we're always looking at those foundations first and make sure that those are good, which, can be supported, which is basic things like vitamins and maybe some diet changes.
Well, one of the things actually in the UK that's very popular is everybody's paranoid about cholesterol. And
Yeah.
And I think my doctor announced the other day, he said, oh yes, we've decided in the UK that what we're going to do, we're going to drop the levels so we can get more people onto statins. So what do you think what's your take on that approach?
Yeah. So again, I have never prescribed, okay, I lied. I prescribed a statin once in my entire practice, but this was someone where they needed it in the interim because they were not someone that was going to make some lifestyle changes overnight. So it was so uncontrolled that it needed a medication in the interim, right? Other than that, if people see a high cholesterol, they freak out. And I said, you know what? It's really not that high. It's probably high because of X. Let's work on this and see if we can get it down. A lot of cholesterol imbalances could be due to hormones. Especially as women age, like estrogen plays a role in cholesterol metabolism. Vitamin D plays a role in cholesterol metabolism. So we do see an increase in cholesterol as we age based on hormone status. So again, if we fix that, guess what? Cholesterol's changed. But then we're also looking at the diet. Most of the time, women come to me and they don't feel good. So if they don't feel good, they're not apt to make healthy diet choices. They don't feel good. So if I get them feeling better, then they start eating better, then their cholesterol gets better. So there's more to, I think, risk factors than just a high cholesterol. We're looking at, again, the whole picture. Like, are you sleeping? What is your weight? What is your diet? Diabetes, blood sugar, all of that. And again, that can be corrected just by diet too. So I'm really trying to just educate and start with the basics with a lot of these patients before I would even introduce a medication, unless, there's those outliers that really need it and they're not going to make changes and they have nowhere, they don't even know where to begin. And I'm not going to be able to fix, that overnight. So we'll do a medication in the interim.
Amazing. We've got a lot of GPs now, general practitioners, trained in the standard, medical route in the UK, are starting to really open their minds and drop the resistance around a more integrative approach. Are you seeing a wave of that amongst conventional medical doctors in the US?
Kind of. I wish there was more. I think I'm seeing more of patients reaching out to have integrative care on their team. So they still have their medical doctor for, insurance purposes and all of that. And then they'll have someone like me to manage, their wellness. So I see a lot of integration in that, but I don't see a lot of medical doctors wanting to integrate, with me as far as the care plans go. They usually always just shake their head and roll their eyes. Like, why are you doing this? It's sad. But there are some that will work with us. And there are some that, some patients that their doctors will, do what I ask because it'll be covered by insurance and they're open to that and they understand. So I'm hoping that it gets better. But yeah, I really think, everyone, we should have an integrative team as individuals because it's needed.
Absolutely. So it's astounding to me actually that that there isn't even any resistance. What looks so common sense, isn't it? How can you be approaching all of these medical conditions in a patient without having addressed underlying things to do with lifestyle, nutrition, and all of those things that are actually the catalyst for all of these health issues? So how do you tackle when you have a conversation with a practitioner? Sort of how do you tackle that around lifestyle when you see, for instance, a type 2 diabetic person who's maybe morbidly obese with high blood pressure, hypertensive, etc., just on all of the medications, and no one has talked to them about lifestyle and nutrition. Where do you start with those conversations?
Yeah, we start very, very basic. And I ask them, what are you capable of, or how committed are you? And what do you want to do? And then we meet them where they're at. I don't expect them to go do a 5K overnight, So I'm like, if you could just walk around the block once a day, that's a start. If you can replace your soda in your afternoon with a glass of water, there we go. If you can add 1 cup of vegetables to your plate a day, great start. Then these things start becoming habits and routines, and we actually enjoy them. So then they keep doing them. So we start very, very basic. It's not oh my gosh, you can't eat this. It's like, all right, well, a good example is a lot of my moms like to go to Starbucks and get, a sugary drink. I call them sugar bombs, first thing in the morning. And I'm like, I don't want to take that away from you. That's your thing. Like, you really enjoy that. But let's add some protein. Like, maybe get an egg bite from Starbucks, so we don't tank that blood sugar and spike it and take it. Adding things to where they're already at. Instead of 1 egg, let's eat 2. Making it easier for the patient to just like make those small changes. And they're like, oh, wow, I didn't even think about that. So, and again, more of the education around it. Like, did you know that this meal is 100% carbohydrate? And that's probably why you feel hangry and nauseous later on in the day, is because you just had a bunch of sugar and your body just tanked. And now you're very hangry and you eat more and more crap. And I'm like, if you added protein to that big carbohydrate meal, you're going to feel a lot better. So it's just meeting them where they're at and really starting basic. It's not, I don't like the all or nothing type approach, because I feel like that might set someone up in that condition for failure. And again, we just need to start small, baby steps. I think baby steps in the right direction is where really true health and healing happens.
And I think with the baby steps, actually, it's, as you say, you're more likely to stick with it and actually enjoying it. And I've noticed that with, there was a study done in the UK where they had 3 trial groups and going back to the cholesterol. And then there was one group that were walking 3 times a week, and they had the biggest impact on their cholesterol.
Yeah.
It was just the group that were walking. And I did exactly the same thing. And actually, when you put your earbuds in and things and listen to, something, a book or whatever, audio, getting that into those habits is such great for lifestyle changes that are non-medical. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did that. So what are we in November, September, October? So in September, I think September 1st was on a Sunday. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to really try and get 8,000 steps a day this month. That was my goal. And so I did it every single day. I got 8,000 steps. And so I did that, I don't remember if it was 30 or 31 days in September, but for however long it was, I hit my goal. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to continue this in October. Continued it in October. And guess what? Here we are in November. I'm still doing 8,000 steps. And it's amazing when you actually pay attention to that and how little steps I was getting or would get if I wasn't trying to get my 8,000. And I really enjoy it. It's like my little break in the afternoon or evening, after dinner, to go for a walk and really just kind of obviously get the digestion going. Like, it's really good to walk after you eat, or, take a longer walk in the morning. We're starting, in winter here, so it's getting a little bit colder in the morning. So I go in the afternoon. But like you said, just putting an AirPod in. And sometimes I just like to listen to the birds and silence. It just depends. But yeah, if you just start, you'd be surprised at how much you actually really like doing certain things, and then you just keep it up. A habit takes about 21 days to develop.
Yeah.
So if you just stick with it, and guess what? If you fall off a day or two, don't worry, just start over again. It's okay. Like, if you miss a couple of days, life's going to happen, right? And there's been plenty of times where I've had to walk in place to get my steps, like literally walk in place. Or walk around laps in the kitchen just to get my steps in. But I've done it. And even if I didn't, I wouldn't beat myself up. But yeah, it's amazing. If you just need to start somewhere. And it doesn't have to be an insane activity or an insane, haul on your diet or something like that. Just baby steps.
Yeah. And it's probably actually easier to do it every day than it is to do what I was doing, which was every other day. Because, of course, when you miss a day, you then, it's a bit
Right.
the second day. So for people, listening, maybe that's, doing 8,000 is fantastic. But I mean, even if somebody started with 4,000 and did,
Yeah.
because again, that's
Or
doing
just
20.
seeing where you start and say, okay, well, if I'm only getting 2,000 steps a day, maybe I'm going to try and double that.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's just starting somewhere.
sure.
Amazing. And I know that there's a lot of kind of different kind of approaches around nutrition. We've had people on here that are staunch vegans, others that are staunch carnivores, ketogenic diet specialists, standard calorie control diet, and nutrition pathways. Where do you sit on this? Are you looking at reducing the overall GI load on the body? What is your approach, or do you not have one on that? Where do you sit?
Honestly, it depends on the patient. I think every body responds different to what they're putting in their body. So if carnivore works for you, great. If keto works for you, great. If vegan works for you, great. If fasting works for you, great. It's, I like to try things, and see how my body responds. My body doesn't like a whole lot of food, as far as like, throughout the day. I like to have a little bit larger meals, and eat, have a space in between. I've learned that, some people like to eat, smaller meals throughout the day and have multiple meals. So it's kind of just playing around with your body and what you feel and how it makes like changes in your, I guess, your mental capacity, your energy, maybe even your sleep, performance in the gym. So I don't recommend a diet per se, because that could, again, set someone up for failure because they feel so restrictive by certain things. Like if you're only carnivore, you can only eat meat. So then you can't have a vegetable if it's presented in front of you. But if that works for you, great. I don't shame anyone into doing any sort of diet. If they come to me with that, it's like, all right, well, let me meet you where you're at. Like, let's make sure we somehow get some fiber, or some, maybe you need to supplement with a supplement or something like that.
Mm.
But, I just like to focus on really just healthy nutrition and the basics with food, like the protein, the fiber, the good, whole grains, not the starchy carbs. Watch the processed foods, watch the gluten, watch the sugar, watch the dairy, watch the alcohol, abide by the clean 15 dirty dozen as far as produce goes. Try and eat organic, grass-fed, as much as possible just because of the quality of our food. Just do what you can. And you'd be amazed at how much better you feel if you just make small changes. Because then when you go back to eating, maybe something that you used to and you used to eat all the time, it doesn't taste like it used to. And you don't like it as much. You might feel worse, groggy, bloated. Maybe you have a headache. Because the cleaner you get, the better you feel. And then when you go eat the crap, you feel it. You feel crap.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm absolutely fascinated by that. And the way in which I think when you meet people that have got a vast experience of dealing with all different conditions, how much more flexible they are around really tailoring the advice for each person and each patient, which I find really wonderful. I love that approach.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the best way. And do you in the tests that you're doing as well, Luke and I have recently become quite fascinated in our DNA profiles, and I really love digging deep into that to see, are we deficient in this or deficient in that? Is that something that you do with your patients?
Are you talking like genetics?
Yes, the methylation profile, a gene profile to see what kind of things they may be deficient in and predispositions.
Absolutely. I think genetics are huge. I've been diving into that a lot myself in the last 6 months, just because of what I've gone through. I'm like, well, I don't know why this keeps happening to me. So let me dive into my genetics and see, what's going on as far as my methylation pathways, my DNA, my oxidative stress, what SNPs do I have? And I've been fascinated by what I've learned. And I'm like, you know what? This all makes sense now. So understanding your makeup, I think, is huge because every body is unique. So if we have, I don't always jump there right away, but if we're having stalled issues or we're not getting where we want to get, then I'm like, you know what, let's take a deeper dive. Like, have you ever done genetic testing to see, if we're missing something? Or maybe your body doesn't like this. Like, I just learned that my body doesn't like a giant amount of protein. I actually have an issue metabolizing protein, which I had no idea about. So I was like, oh, no wonder I wasn't, really responding well to a high protein diet. I still eat protein, don't get me wrong, but I don't eat high protein. And I've responded a lot better. I also learned that I have a SNP or an issue with my vitamin D metabolism. So guess what? I need more vitamin D than I thought because I don't metabolize it normally. Little things like that can make a huge difference and can explain too why certain things happen in the body, especially for me at a young age. Like, why did I have this cancer? Why did I have, all these other things, happen down the road that weren't as significant as that, but still like other stuff that shouldn't be happening to me. Why is this happening? And now it's all making sense because I looked at a cellular level. So yeah, I love nerding out on that stuff. And really, and educating too about it as well, using my own experience from what I've found to, say, hey, let's look a little deeper. Let's look at those genes.
Yeah, for me, I don't know about you, Luke, but I found, or you, Dr. Erin, I found it really refreshing to realize, to stop gaslighting myself. I'm like, oh my goodness. I looked through, I was like, those symptoms were real. Look, they were real.
Yeah.
Because the gaslighting, I feel, as a woman, is on your own health. You're like, that's just in my mind. Or you just laugh because you're so busy doing all the things. So I stopped gaslighting myself because I was like, oh no, that's actually real. It's happening. Let's deal with that.
Yeah.
And I think, some of the things I didn't know about it, and some of those methylation tests and having methylated B vitamins as well now, because I wasn't metabolizing, or probably wasn't metabolizing everything before. But the funny thing is that's been on this journey, that's probably been just over a year really, where it started with one supplement and then led to another supplement. And now the morning routine of supplements, you actually, I think I might, somebody look at me and say, are you sure you're okay with all of those supplements? And I try and put them in pots every day, but then I think they're really, really helpful. And I had no idea about them.
Yeah.
Saw palmetto and pumpkin seed and all of these things, they may be more male-centric things, those items, but they make a big difference. And
and all we care about is we looked at before and after pictures. We are so vain. All we can see is we look younger. That's all we actually care about.
Hey, I mean, a lot of it is anti-aging.
Yeah,
for sure.
We're loving it. So where do you supplement your patients a lot, or do you always start around the nutrition?
If I can supplement, or if I can work with nutrition, I will. A lot of things we can't get from our diet or enough through our diet, so we have to supplement. So yeah, mostly supplementation, but we do incorporate diet depending.
Amazing. So for the people that are listening, and we have listeners from across the world, all over the place, and they are listening in, we want them to start having these conversations and just kind of open up those conversations across the kitchen tables. And I know that you mentioned start small, but if somebody's just feeling absolutely overwhelmed, they're like, I've got all of this going on, I've got a family history of diabetes and all of things, where can they start? What is the first thing that you would do for them if you were just giving them a little bit of education today in terms of where to start with this journey?
For someone like that, I would really just have a heart-to-heart with them and ask them what their goals are. What are your goals? And then, based off whatever they say, then I'll be like, all right, well, let's start with this. I think it's really up to, I have all the tools in my toolbox and I can tell you a million things to do, but it really comes down to, what do you hold in your heart and your brain, and what's important to you? Do you want to lose the weight? Do you want to have more energy? Do you want to just sleep better? Like, what is it that's most important for you? Because there's a lot going on, right? Usually these people have multiple symptoms. So it's like, what is the most important for you? And then we usually start there. Sometimes I might require or say like, hey, we got to work on some past trauma. A lot of it could be unresolved emotions or something that happened in the past that's, another obstacle to cure is that subconscious brain is so powerful that you got to work through that, especially when it comes to food and diet. I see a lot of people that have had some, significant trauma in the past with food that's still affecting them, and I'm like, well, I can't help you with that. You've got to go internal and work on that, but it can be fixed. And a lot of times they don't realize that they can, help with that. So if there's someone struggling with diet, I'm always like, how can I support you with this? What are you looking for me to help you with? Because I can do whatever you want. I just want to make sure that whatever I recommend is something that is okay for you and something that you can, do, and that's easy for you and for you to comply with and, sustain. So that's usually how I address it, is, again, meeting them where they're at.
Amazing. It must feel like having a great big hug coming into your office. And there must be also a lot of tears of
oh yeah,
feeling really
I had that a couple of weeks ago. She goes, no one has ever been so kind about that with me. And I'm like, well, I don't want to say you can't do this. That's not fair to you. It's not fair to me. Like, I'm not your dictator. I'm here to support you. So let me know how can I support you? What are you looking for me to help you with? Because I can provide whatever you want. I just don't know exactly what it's going to be for you and what you need.
Amazing. So with that said, I don't know if you have any final questions for Dr. Erin, Luke.
Yes, I think we've covered an awful lot there. It's been really, really interesting, and I think very valuable, because that's the thing that we love actually about running the podcast, is having people, the opinions of everybody that come on, be it, yes, as Nabila says, the carnivore side, the vegan side, and now, yes, you're our first doctor in this area and it's really interesting to look at it from that holistic approach and actually look at the whole picture. And I think that's a fantastic thing for people to do. And I would say to anybody, yes, that's probably the most fundamental place to start, and actually the whole picture. So yeah, no, it's been very, very interesting.
Yes, and Dr. Erin, does people that want to reach out to you, so tell us where they can do that, and do you do consultations with people remotely across the world, or is it through education programs? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, no, I could do telemedicine. I'm only licensed in the state of Arizona, so can't diagnose or prescribe across state lines. However, I can provide all the education you want. Highly active on social media. I would say Instagram's probably my preferred platform. So I'm always on there in my DMs. Feel free to send me a message. I'll respond. I welcome all my new followers. My website is hopenatural.health.com. I have a podcast, Hope Natural Health. Get on my email list. I have a few freebies that are on my website, for menstrual cycle nutrition guide or weight loss tips. I just really want to educate and inspire and let people know that their symptoms are real and there is an answer, and you deserve to be heard and listened to and get the answers that you deserve so you can feel your best self.
Amazing. I couldn't have come up with better closing words than that. Thank you so much. That's so beautiful. And we are feeling the warmth and the hug from you from across the pond. Thank you so much for your generous time today, Dr. Erin Ellis. From Arizona in the USA, and we really appreciate having you on Sweet Liberation, and we hope that this won't be the last time that you are on the show and that you will come back and speak to us again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you both for having me.
Thank you so much. All the best. Thank you.
Thanks. You too.